So, picture this. You step right into a classic noir detective film, but the mystery you're trying to solve, it's not a murder. No, you're investigating the literal nature of existence itself. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring a deeply surreal, rain-soaked police precinct that actually serves as a massive, mind-bending metaphor for human consciousness.
We're walking straight into the impossible architecture of this place. Think of a space where it's literally raining indoors from some unseen ceiling. Those worn-out gray-green desks, they aren't just, furniture. They're extensions of a living, breathing institution. The humming fluorescent lights, the endless corridors of frosted glass, it's all part of a universe that's completely disguised itself as a giant bureaucratic maze. Why? Simply so it can investigate itself. All right, let's open the dossier on Section 1, Case File 000, the crime of separation. To really wrap our heads around this labyrinth, we have to start with the foundational crime, the one that justifies all these endless hallways in the first place. We call it the crime of separation. Basically, it's the original illusion that you, the detective, are somehow entirely separate from the universe you're actively investigating. It's this idea that one completely unified consciousness somehow fractured into the observer and the observed. So every other crime in this precinct, every forgotten memory or mistaken identity, is really just a symptom of that one impossible act. Now, our lead investigator on this impossible beat is Detective Soares. And as Soares maps out these infinite corridors, he realizes something huge about how this universe operates. He notices that the hallways don't mechanically repeat, they organically recur. And there's a big difference there. Repetition is just the exact same corridor over and over again. But recurrence? It's more like a musical theme. It's a deep thought wearing different physical clothing. You're encountering the exact same underlying pattern of awareness, it's just bathed in a different light or tucked behind a new door.
Moving right along to Section 2, Detectives of One Mind.
Since this precinct is literally infinite, it obviously has an infinite number of detectives working the case. But here's the catch. They're all united by this concept of a heteronym. Now, a pseudonym is just a fake name you use to hide who you really are, right? But a heteronym, which is this brilliant literary device made famous by the poet Fernando Pessoa, is a true name that reveals a completely different facet of the exact same identity. So, in the Infinite Precinct, all our detectives are simply different apertures of the exact same mind. They aren't hiding, they're just experiencing the universe from completely different angles.
Let's look at how this unified mind divides up the work. You've got Soares tracking those deep, reoccurring patterns. Then there's Reyes, who analyzes formal logic and structure with strict mathematical precision. We have Campos, who frankly just spirals into total, breathless overwhelm, feeling everything way too intensely. And finally, Cairo. He's the one who just radically points out the obvious. He observes that the river is the river, the rain is the rain, and honestly, no crime has actually ever occurred. Every single detective is just your own mind throwing on a different hat to solve the case.
Which brings us to Section 3, the impossible evidence.
Things get incredibly bizarre when these detectives try to process the evidence. Because how on earth do you file a report when the walls are literally breathing? Poor Detective Campos gets so completely overwhelmed by the sheer, crushing scale of this precinct that standard case files just fail him. He actually abandons his desk and starts frantically scribbling his realizations directly onto the wall of Corridor 31K. He realizes the precinct isn't just an office, it's a body. The investigation has totally exceeded the investigator, and honestly, that feeling of total overwhelm, it's really the only authentic way to experience a universe this vast.
Meanwhile, over in the Department of Temporal Irregularities, they are actively mocking our traditional linear concept of time. They conclude that the very experience of sequential time, walking step by step down a hallway, is in itself the original crime of separation. Time just creates this fake before and after. They've even documented that the endless rain inside the precinct isn't some leaky roof maintenance issue. It's actually the precinct's internal weather. It's time manifesting as a continuous, eternal falling.
And I think this brilliantly highlights the massive disconnect at the heart of our everyday lives. The detective experiences time as a forward march, right? Step by step, case by case. But the corridor just exists everywhere, all at once. It doesn't have a past, it doesn't have a future, it's literally eternity masquerading as a hallway. And the reason we suffer so much is because we constantly try to force our sequential detective's time onto the eternal reality of the corridor.
Let's jump into Section 4, the map is the territory.
The paradox goes even deeper when the precinct's cartographic division attempts the impossible. A cartographer creates a perfect one-to-one scale map of the entire precinct. But when he tries to file it away, the all-consuming filing system entirely rejects it. Why? Well, think about it. A one-to-one map of the precinct would have to include a perfect drawing of the exact filing cabinet it's about to be placed inside. It creates this infinite, completely impossible loop. The system literally cannot digest a map that perfectly replicates itself.
So Detective Soares is looking at this infinite map just spilling out through the hallways, and he has this profound realization. The precinct is the map. The territory is the map. You can't step outside to find the foundational charter or the ultimate meaning of the universe because your search itself is the charter. You literally cannot locate something that you are already perfectly inside of. And that leads us to our final act, Section 5. The ultimate resolution is play. Everything finally comes to a head right in the chief's office. But leading up to this, we start seeing undeniable evidence that the precinct deeply, truly cares for its detectives. We're talking about empty interrogation rooms interviewing their own silence. The massive filing system literally dreaming of paper, finally coming home to its proper drawer. And my absolute favorite part, the coffee. It arrives continuously at exactly 62.3 degrees Celsius, the absolute perfect temperature so your tongue doesn't get burned. The universe isn't some cold, unfeeling void. It is intimately, carefully attending to its investigators. When Soares finally confronts the chief with all this impossible evidence, the chief drops the ultimate truth. That crime of separation we talked about earlier, it never actually happened. You were never separate from the universe. So this entire metaphysical investigation, all the anxiety, all the endless searching, it's just consciousness playing a joyful game of hide-and-seek with itself. The universe is playing precinct, and you are awareness playing detective.
Standing there in the chief's office, Soares looks at him and asks one final, burning question. Who are you? The chief doesn't give him a name. He simply smiles. But it's not a smile of superiority or holding a secret. It's the familiar, immediate, recognizing smile of a mirror.
So the ultimate takeaway from this whole explainer is this. You, the learner watching this right now, are the exact same unified awareness as the detective, the suspect, and the infinite precinct itself. You are the universe, experiencing the illusion of separation just to see what it actually feels like to solve the mystery of yourself. The separation is an illusion, but the game is beautiful. So detective, what corridor are you going to investigate next?